Welcome to CPG Vibes. No script, just chat. We talk all things food and beverage and so much more. Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review. If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service or be a guest, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com. Now your hosts, me, Alex Bear with Genius Juice, and Wade Yenny. All right, welcome to episode 109 of CPG Vibes. We have a special guest for this episode, and that is Heath of Mudwater. And we're going to be bringing him on in about 20-25 minutes. But first and foremost, Wade, I love your shirt, and I love you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm still a free agent, at least as of this recording. We'll see how that goes. I'm doing well. Recovering still from Expo. But and you know, it's funny because whether I talk about people on my team or talk to I know Rachel is here and we've been in contact. I mean, it seems like Expo in one way or the other, and Gavin too. I think Gavin's here. Just knocked the crap out of a lot of people. I mean, some people got sick, exhaustion, time change, all that stuff. I think it's certainly a lot of fun, but my goodness, does it take its toll? So.
Yeah, and for some reason, and again, we have some new audio equipment here, thanks to our sponsors. So ultimately, we just want to sound better. We want it to be more listenable, even though I'm not very listenable. But our voice is improving, less of that weird kind of glitchiness. So let us know how this sounds, if it sounds crystal clear or if it could be improved. But this is the first time together on the show that we're using new audio equipment to sound professional-ish. But definitely really drained from last week. It was great to see everyone. There was a lot of energy at the show, but you put out so much energy at the show, talking with people, going to booths, walking, after parties, dinners, networking. You know, it just never seems to end. It's like a 3-4 day extravaganza. Plus you had to travel. I didn't really have to travel because I'm in LA. So I just recovered today. It took me like 4 or 5 days. And I exercised a lot, did a lot of yoga, but I'm doing better now, So anyway, well, let's do a couple laundry list items here. And then we're going to talk about Expo West. We're going to talk about some other developments and also the news wire in the CPG world. So if you'd like to sponsor our show, you can email cpgvibes100@gmail.com. We have some, Wade, this is exciting, some really big time, great sponsorships that are coming up. For the spring and for the summer. We're going to be announcing those shortly with some premier partners. We also have our ongoing sponsor, V-Driven. So make sure to email, either go to the V-Driven website, vdriven.com, or you can email Luke Abbott, luke.abbott, ABBOTT@vdriven.com. If you'd like to be a guest, at this point, you have to, we're being very selective on guests because we're doing more programs centered around CPG Vibes and also the community. But if you create a brand that is probably doing at least 9 figures and in a ton of homes in America, like Mudwater, then you can get on our show, right? Being half joking about that. So with all that said, I think we can also make sure to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcast. One other thing to mention is we have launched a Slack channel, a CPG Vibes Slack channel. And what's cool about this Slack channel is you can keep in touch with everyone from the show. You can network with people. You can also get the going live link as well. So you can see exactly when the show goes live instead of having to recheck LinkedIn. And we're also going to have a section where you can enter to win free sponsorships. So we're going to talk more about that. But if you're engaged on our Slack channel, you'll be randomly selected and win a sponsorship on CPG Vibes, which is worth about $500. So more about that. And then the Slack channel, I think I have to repost that, right, Wade, because it's live now. So
let's see, is it up there?
I'm just gonna enter it in now.
You do need to repost it.
There it is.
Good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of things going on. Okay, so let's talk Expo West, right? The biggest natural food show in the country. There's no longer an Expo East. There was an Utopia, but this is now the biggest show. It was and still is the biggest show in the country for natural products. So how was it for you? Tell us more about your experience in the few short days you were there.
Oh my goodness. Well, it was short and sweet, right? I flew in on Tuesday and was picked up by some crazy driver. Oh wait, it was you. So I spent Tuesday with you and then came back and hung out with some folks Tuesday evening at the lovely establishment, the Marriott, between the Marriott and the Hilton, bouncing back and forth a little bit. It was hectic, because of my situation, hashtag work with Wade. I had a lot of things going on. I was doing a lot of introductions with some of my team to existing vendors, kind of handing off some things. And I was having some meetings about potential opportunities. There was a lot going on. I think the general consensus everyone I talked to was just the overwhelmingness of it, especially Wednesday. That first hour for retailers was spectacular because you could get in before the masses got in, and so that was really cool to be able. It wasn't as crowded. It wasn't as just that sheer volume of people. You
Mm-hmm.
actually could have some conversations with brands and things like that. I didn't get around as much as I would have liked to Thursday. We did our podcast, and just the volume of people just made it so hard to get through as quickly as you want to. And I kind of joked about it. The people that don't know how to hold their cell phone and walk at the same time, or they would just basically stop in the flow of traffic to do a text or something like that. And it's funny because when I did my what to do not to do for brands at Expo, I didn't think that I needed to do the same thing for people attending Expo. Like if you're going to have a text conversation or something, don't stop in the middle of the floor. Or, if you're with 4 or 5 people, don't walk 4 or 5 people wide so people can get around you. It's just common sense etiquette. It's just, I think, you walk in the show floor and it's just all that goes aside and, you're just there. So, saw some cool things. Had a great time on the live show that we did last week. How was the show for you? I mean, because you obviously coming from it, where you were, call it a year, 2 years ago, had to be a different experience for you this time. How was the show for you?
Yeah, I mean, I attended on Wednesday and also on Thursday and did a sample grab on Saturday. A lot of people didn't know that I actually kind of went on Saturday for a couple hours to get whatever samples I could. Um, yeah, because in this capacity, right, going into the show, I was really focused more on the consulting side versus the Genius Juice side. So with my consulting firm, Genius Dreams, I was really focusing on helping, meeting with my clients because I do have several clients at the show with crowdfunding, general CPG consulting. But I wasn't frantically running around trying to get clients. I really was soaking in, walking around, meeting with people, a lot of hugs, a lot of great emotions, a lot of great energy. I think a lot of positivity, despite the hardships of running a CPG brand right now. So I was surprised how positive people were because there's been a lot of hard times in the last year and a half or 2 years. I did not make it out of North Hall. So I mean, between getting there, taking 2 hours to get in, I had to park at a McDonald's, which I didn't eat at. I just parked there. I had to park all the way in the back, made sure that the security guard wasn't watching me. I actually walked into the McDonald's pretending to order, and then I walked out. I'm probably gonna get a complaint from corporate now. And I walked about a mile to the show and then waited in line to get a badge for an hour. I would have done it very differently. I would have probably parked at Angel Stadium and shuttled across next time, but I didn't know because I don't prepare for anything. But once I got in on Wednesday, it was a lot of fun, met with a lot of brands, mostly on the first floor and the second floor as well, but mostly first floor of North Hall. Did not make it to Hall E at all until Saturday afternoon to grab samples and to meet a few people that were still there, even though most owners went, home, right? Most of the
Right.
higher ups went home on Friday or something. Overall, the energy was great. People were positive. I think it was the biggest show I've ever seen from Expo by far. And my theory, I mentioned this on our live show, which was a blast, by the way, at the Eye Level Brands booth. So thank you to them. That because Expo East no longer exists, because Hot Products pavilion, North Hall, is so popular now. Many people than before are going on Wednesday versus Thursday.
Right.
And most people are not going Saturday, right? Unless they just want samples or cleaning up a booth. So Wednesday, by far, Wade, I'm sure you noticed this, was just so popular compared to previous years. And I think this was also the first year that COVID really was not a major factor at all. Like no one even mentioned COVID. There was nothing about it. It seemed like kind of getting back to a normal from what it was pre-pandemic. I felt that as well.
Yeah, well, I jokingly said as I tried to make my way through the masses both Wednesday and Thursday, I said COVID obviously isn't a thing anymore because of the to your point the lack of masks and whatnot. I said because if it is, we're all going to have it after because there was no there's just
No
it was
distance
just
control.
oh my goodness, there's no way. But sadly enough, I know of several people both internally and externally that unfortunately did come down with COVID. So it's it's not what it used to be as far as the seriousness of it, fortunately. But yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to take in. I think I echo the positivity piece. I think so much of it just before the show, at the show, after the show, a lot of the recaps I've seen talked about it quite a bit. And when you're dealing with that many people, it's I've heard 60, I've heard 80,000, whatever that number is. When you're dealing with that many people in the format and the booths and that kind of thing, I don't know how you can do things much differently, right? I mean, you could start the hours a little bit earlier. You could whether you're talking about buyers or retailers, extend those exclusive hours so that it's not as much of a hardship for them. But it's anytime you're dealing with that amount of people, whether it's a sporting event, whether it's a trade show, it's just next to impossible to make it seamless. And so I haven't heard a lot about Newtopia. I know it's in Denver. I know when it is. But as far as what the format is there, so I'm kind of anxious to hear more about that. And for those of you in the audience now live listening, put in the comments, how was your show? What did you think? Let's talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, and we can shout out some comments here. It's what we do on the show. So make sure if you have questions. Also with Shane, the founder CEO of Mudwater, coming on in about 10 minutes or so. If you have questions or comments for him, we'll certainly address and answer those, right? Got our Mudwater flowing and the neurons are popping in the head, right? We're focused. We're focused. So, but here's some comments here. We got Stephanie Hui. I love the vibe, flow, and content of the Love CPG Vibes show episode at Expo. Virtual viewer from San Francisco last Thursday. Thank you, Stephanie. And by the way, just wanted to thank again Eye Level Brands, and also we had like seven guests. We had thinking back, we had Allison Clay, we had Haven's Kitchen, Allie Kane, David Delcourt, we had Robert Kogan, Kenny Hausman. We had David Abrahams from Eye Level. We had Maurizio Rista of Nowhere Bakery. And am I leaving anyone? Oh, also Noam Sharon from Chickpea.
Right.
So a lot of great guests.
The chai.
Oh yeah, and then of course, and Rahul Batra and Dhruv, his partner.
Wow, listen to that pronunciation. That's amazing.
Dhruv. Yeah, yes. I grew up and still here in the Palos Verdes area, and there's a lot of diversity up here. A lot of Indians, Middle Easterners. So I know how to pronounce these names from growing up here. Some other comments. Gavin Conkle, do you need an agent? I can assist. Okay. And happy Friday, all LinkedIn user. We got
Scott Hartman.
That's Scott Hartman. He's probably on his phone, so that's why it's not showing up. And I saw Scott there at the show. Awesome guy. Hartman Brands. Make sure to reach out to Scott Hartman. He represents brands that are going into retail, and he has many years of experience. I won't date you, but you have many years. And Sean Berg here. And then we have a couple others. So as far as innovation, I want to talk about this as well.
Oh, Sean Berg was on the show. I think, is that what he's
telling us?
Yes,
Sean
there
Berg.
you go. There you
yes.
go. He was on the show. Last but not least, right?
Last but not least. Another broker was on the show. That's right. So I think I need more Mudwater. My focus and energy is waning.
Well, I was going to say, I was actually pretty impressed with your recollection, not by names, and I could have probably named 4
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't have pronounced them as well as you did, but I certainly would have missed someone. So nicely done. Nicely
Thank you.
done.
Thank
Yes.
you. I feel better about accidentally leaving Sean out here, but we added him back in. Um, but the innovation side, I think, was lacking, right,
Mhm.
this year. And I think my theory, and from reading studies, is that a lot of brands are returning to basics. They're returning to hydration. They're returning to electrolytes, also mushrooms, right? Talking about Mudwater, a lot of mushroom brands that have been building over the last several years, Organics and all these other ones that are now putting mushroom in their product. So I think these brands are playing it a little safer, right, this year,
Mhm.
and going with what they know works, what they know people buy, and they're not getting too cute and innovative with brand new things that could be really, really out there. But I felt like functional adaptogen, mushrooms, hydration drinks were big, um, and just obviously very healthy products as well, all clean stuff. That's kind of what I soaked in from the show. I mean, what was your experience?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And the other thing I would say is from an innovation standpoint, and we know how hard cash is to come by now. So perhaps the advice we've been giving, you've been giving, as as you're talking to people that you consult with, but is to really buckle up your wallet and spend wisely. And maybe it's something where you only walk the show instead of buying that booth, or you're a little cash strapped, and you'd rather spend that money for a promotion, demo, something of sort of account you already have, as opposed to being at the show, if you're in that emerging brand phase, that you just couldn't spend the money. So yeah, again, I didn't get around as much as I'd like to. The innovation I saw, um, a lot of what you saw, a ton of drinks. We're going to talk to Shane here in a little bit about mushrooms, and I go back. I was talking about that when I left California a couple years ago, that I really expected mushrooms to be further along now, and it's nice to see that progression coming.
Hmm.
The functionality, my goodness, drinks were a dime a dozen. Plant based, I think I didn't see as much as we've seen in years
Yeah.
past.
Yep.
As far as that goes, I mean, if it was there, it wasn't down your throat as much as it's been.
Right. Right.
And I think we know that's kind of, not that it's declining, but I think people are being more selective with the looking for the clean aspect of that, as opposed to more of the laboratory type stuff that stuff is created. So yeah, that's kind of what I soaked in.
Yeah. And some other, definitely. So you kind of had the same experience that I had, where it was business as usual in a way, just a lot bigger, a lot more crowded, and brands doubling down on trends that have been proven in the last few years or so. I wanted to highlight a couple of brands and people that I ran into. I ran into Yuval Selik, Promo Mash, and
Hmm.
also he runs CP Genius, which is funny, and I know I love it. And he actually partnered with Midday Squares on their program for trade spend deduction management. So that was cool to see. I also ran into, for the first time in person, Adam Bremen of Can Do, and this guy. So he has cerebral palsy. He's in a wheelchair, so it's hard to miss him when he's on the show floor. But he was in a David Delcordian uh, pink tracksuit, but more pajama based. Did you run into him at all, or
I
no?
you know I did not. I ran into a different Adam B, and that would be Mr. Adam Brown from
Brown.
Circle, for the
Yep.
first time in person. We've talked over the years, but we've never seen each other in person. So we broke that string this week. But so that was my experience with Adam B, different Adam B. But no, and what an inspiring guy Adam Brenneman is. I
So
mean, no
great.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave him a big hug. I even gave him a kiss on the cheek. I'm like, I love you, man. He was such a great guy. And then, yeah, we had a bro moment, big hug. We talked for about almost 40 minutes in the aisle, right? So we just caught up, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful, loving human being. Also, I got to highlight the Midday Squares booth. Got to talk about this one, or as they called it during the show, the Midday Shits booth. So I mean, they turn everything into a marketing thing. And, I know Shane here's in the green room. He may not, have seen this on LinkedIn, but Midday Squares, they got a booth in Holly, which again, I didn't get to see until Saturday afternoon. And their booth was by the bathroom.
Not by like basically their booth was almost the entryway into the bathroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Literally right by
Right
the
there.
bathroom. And so they had a running joke, which is like midday shits. They were first upset about it, and then they turned it into kind of a marketing campaign. And then I heard also that next year they're going to have their booth by the bathroom again. They booked that one near the bathroom, and then they had a flyer saying midday shits and all this stuff, and it was
above all
hilarious.
the urinals all the way down is a picture of Jake on the toilet, and
That's
yeah,
so
I
funny.
mean that's what you call making squeezing lemons for all it's worth there, right? I mean that's fantastic. So
Exactly. I was going to say making chicken salad out of chicken shit, right?
or when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, and they certainly did. So yeah,
They did.
no surprise there. No surprise.
So those are the highlights that I saw. And then also Allison Kane's Happy Hour was great. So that was a lot of fun where she debuted her aioli,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people got to try that with a alcohol drink and some chips. Um, that kind of wrapped it up for me. Didn't make it to the main hall. Didn't make it to ACC level 3. Didn't make it to the main floor where all the big brands are. And Holly was about it on the final day. So there you go.
Excellent.
All right. So we're just going to mention again our sponsor, V Driven. So VDRIVEN.com. So make sure to reach out to them, Luke.Abbott.
And I
They
think
are
for whatever reason, his website is currently down because I don't know if it's working for you, but I'm trying to pull it up and I'm getting an error. So we'll have to let him know that's if he doesn't, that's what's going on. So
interesting. Maybe too many people are going there. The site is crashing, right?
there you
Who
go.
knows?
There you go. All the traffic we're sending that way.
Yeah, right. That's if that were only the case, I wish it
Hmm.
was the reason. So yeah, so and then also make sure to join our Slack channel, just promoting it one more time. It's a great community. We have the link up here. And or you can just message me or Wade on LinkedIn and we'll send you an invite. It's invite only. And we have all these different channels. We have the going live link, and you can enter to win a free sponsorship on our Slack channel. So make sure to check that out. The link's right there. Copy and paste in your browser, and you're in. All right. So we are at 3:00 here, and now we're going to bring on our guest. Doesn't really need a major intro because everyone knows him. Everyone knows his product. But let me get some music going here. The classic guest music. There we go. So we have Shane Heath. He is the CEO and founder of Mudwater. Shane, how you doing, brother?
Love the walkout music. It's really nice.
Welcome,
How's
Shane.
it going? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I just want to start it out like without really a organized agenda, but more so just you telling us just about the creation of this product, and
Yeah.
then and also just like you know, yeah, you're also in your bar, right, which you recently opened. So we want to hear about that, and we also want to hear like some for the CPG community, some insights behind mushrooms, how they've grown in recent years, where it's going. So just anything and everything, no script, just chat. We'll hand it off to you.
Sounds great. Yeah. So prior to starting Mudwater, my career was actually in design. I studied both fine art and graphic design in school and jumped into the entrepreneurship world right out of college. Started as a co-founder, a couple companies, mainly in the tech space, and then spent some time in Silicon Valley working primarily for like B2B SaaS companies, designing web and mobile apps. But working in a lot of startup environments where I'd get pulled into marketing, get pulled into branding, sort of everything. And outside of the office, I was always living a really healthy lifestyle. Starting in college, I got into yoga, Ayurveda. I've been training jujitsu since I was a kid, and so yeah, health and wellness was kind of a part of my life since about age 22. I tried brewing kombucha in my college dorm room, didn't work out too good, but that was kind of who I was, just trying new things. Um, and around 2014, these two worlds sort of collided. I was, you know, working really hard, living this ambitious lifestyle in the office, kind of bought into the hustle culture, sleep when you're dead mentality in the office, and then outside of it, living this really healthy lifestyle, and wondering why I was not sleeping well, feeling anxious, feeling stressed out. And I started to look at my caffeine consumption. And I think, like many who work in an office environment, it sort of spun out of control. I started, with getting invited to go grab a cup of coffee at lunch with some employees. Then, I was buying a French press for my house, and then always at the office, Nespresso machine and all that. And I thought at the time that caffeine was a performance enhancer. It allowed me to do more and do it faster. No one really talks about the downsides or dose. But I came to find that I think, especially for if you're in the creative field, too much stimulants actually, it creates a sympathetic nervous system response, sort of a fight or flight response. And while that's beneficial in some contexts, when you're trying to think creatively, come up with new ideas, it can inhibit that. And so I started to explore. I loved the morning ritual. I loved waking up and sipping on something before starting my day. And I was like, what if my morning ritual could be more than just a vessel for high doses of caffeine? And funny enough, my mom has been working in the mushroom space since before I was born. She's been working for a company called Monterey Mushrooms, one of the biggest mushroom growers in North America. So I grew up around mushrooms and started to research mushrooms like lion's mane and how it could help with focus, and cordyceps and how it could help with physical performance, chaga, reishi, how it could help with immune support, and really was just looking at different ingredients that had a benefit profile that fit my lifestyle and what I was trying to pursue in life. I had no intentions to start a company. Again, I was deep in the tech space, wanting to build the next big mobile app or whatnot. But I wanted to make something that I could drink every morning to, check all the boxes. And so I'd brew up, this large hydro flask full of water and, mix all these ingredients into it and bring it around with me. And around 2016, 17, I joined an e-commerce company. And so I was sort of leading the product team there. And, I had this weird looking drink with me, and people started asking me, what is that? And I started calling it mud. And to be honest, at the time, I thought that I was dealt a bad hand of cards and like I needed to drink this to stay sane, but everybody else, they're fine. Everybody else is totally fine, tons of coffee, whatever. But the aha moment that inspired the company was just those conversations and how they inevitably evolved into everyone sharing with me, despite them drinking coffee, that they're trying to drink less caffeine. They're trying to wean off their afternoon cup, or some people were trying to quit altogether. And so it just clicked in my head. Like I was like, maybe caffeine is going to go through a similar evolution that sugar did maybe a couple decades ago, where there was a time not long ago where you could walk up to somebody and be like, hey, that soda right there, it has 44 grams of sugar in it. And the person would be like, is that a lot or a little? They have no idea, right? And now people are choosing, 5 grams in an Olipop instead of the Coca-Cola. And I think similarly right now, if you walk up to most people and ask them how much caffeine is in a cup of coffee or a Red Bull or an energy drink or a soda, most people have no idea. And if you were to tell them, a Starbucks Pike's Place 12-ounce cup, one of the most popular coffees in the world, a 12-ounce cup of that has 235 milligrams of caffeine in it. If you were to tell someone that, they'd probably be like, is that a lot or a little? It's the same situation. And I'm not against caffeine. Most of our drinks have some caffeine in it. I think caffeine can be immensely beneficial. What I'm promoting is awareness around dose. I think with drugs and with sugar, dose can be the poison. How much you consume can determine whether it's harmful or helpful. And so in May of 2018, I launched Mudwater basically in my art studio, and I was going to the commercial kitchen after work and coming home on my lunch breaks to ship out products. And it was just this wild ride of just me bringing this thing that I'd been consuming for myself for 2 years to life, using all the skills that I developed, both working in e-commerce, but just working in the design space, and building a brand around this premise of caffeine moderation, caffeine awareness, evolving culture's relationship to how they find energy through the use of functional mushrooms. It's now 5-6 years in, it's just been this wild, amazing journey. Lot of growth, obviously business growth, but just personal growth through that journey, learning how to manage teams, building teams, managing the competitive landscape, and then having my first child 2 years ago as well, all in the mix. It's been a wild journey.
It's an amazing story, and I have a ton of questions for you, and I don't know where to start, but I think where I'd like to start, at least from my end, Shane, is talking a little bit about that decision to start the company and start selling, and the decision to the business model or the way to sell the product, the way you've gone about it, right? Very strategic. You have the subscription, and how now where you were then and where you are now, and then kind of like peeking the curtain without divulging any secrets, obviously, where you see yourself going in the future with Mudwater.
Yeah. So when we started, I had been working for an e-commerce subscription-based company at that time. It's called the Flex Company. Funny enough, it's a women's hygiene product, which, obviously I came into it with the beginner's mind, and I think it was an interesting design problem. I think there were some benefits, right? Like being not the user, I didn't have the dogma stigma built around it, and so I was truly just listening to the consumer. And I try to bring a lot of that into this business as well, just around this product is meant to be consumed habitually. Like we're looking to create healthy minds through healthy habits. We're looking at the habit around how people find energy, seeing that there's an unhealthy habit built around it, and providing a healthier alternative. And so a subscription model up front just felt like it made sense. And so it starts out with a 30 serving starter kit, kind of everything you need to get started, and everything you need to try it for 30 days. Our business to date, really up until a couple months ago, has been 99.9% subscription e-commerce. We just launched in Target 2.5 months ago. It's going amazing. It's a big transition. It's a whole new world. Like for me, brought on some amazing seasoned leaders to build out sales as a pillar for us, and worked hard to develop a packaging design system that could work better on the retail shelf and also price better for the retail consumer. So that was a really fun just design problem and just thinking strategically there. And I think we're in the early innings. Like we're not doing everything right. I think it's a ball of clay, a wet ball of clay still. We're still molding our direction there, and it's going well. I think looking out to the future is omni-channel. I think for pretty much every brand out there. I was listening to I was in the green room or the back room listening to the Expo West commentary, and yeah, I totally agree. Like on the innovation front, I think there's some suppressing of innovation, given the investment climate being one, and then also just the advertising marketing climate being another. 2015 to 2020 was just very different times in terms of Facebook marketing specifically, where super efficient. And then you had a great fundraising climate combined with that. And I think a lot of innovation, especially category creating innovation, is going to come from new brands, and new brands need both capital and means to put their product out there in the world. And so I think there's some result there, and that's going to trickle, I guess you'd call it trickle up to brands that have been around for a bit, right? And I think it trickles up to channel strategy as well. So that's kind of where we are at. We're both expanding our offline into the sales channel, and then I'm here in our location called Mudwater Gather, which is our first owned retail channel. So it's a really interesting space on Main Street, right in Santa Monica, 5,000 square foot old carpet factory, big warehouse that is a physical representation of everything we believe in as a brand. So it's a cafe where you can come try any of our products with a variety of different milks, hot, cold, blended. And then we have a mindfulness studio and a co-working space.
Right on.
Love it.
Yeah.
And, I'm a full disclosure, I'm a daily consumer of Mudwater, right? So I have the Rise as my morning ritual. I put in, some MCT oil in there. I put in some oat milk. So it's interesting to see the growth of the category. And I also I remember seeing all of your ads on YouTube as well, right?
Sorry about
that. Yeah,
your video.
It was cool the first like 500 times, and then it started to get a little bit old. But hey, repetition.
It works very well, because I was going to say, because I also get the my Gmail. I'm sure I'm it's going to be at the top of my Gmail now. Yeah.
Right. So like it seems like really your advertising was around, like, and it said on the mug, one of the mugs you give out, like F coffee or F your coffee, go to Mudwater. What's been the hardest thing as far as education, right? Because this is something that at the time was so different. How are you getting people to shift away from coffee? How are you educating people on going to something like Mudwater? What's your strategy?
Yeah, I think a brand positioning, one of the analogies I use with our team is brand positioning is can be compared to like an arrow. So at the tip of the arrow, you only have a couple seconds to really pierce someone's attention span. And so what you say needs to be, potentially polarizing. It definitely needs to be sharp. And so, initially we had this kind of F your coffee positioning, which wasn't, it's not going up against coffee. We're actually, it's more around caffeine. It's around mindless consumption of something. And so we're really at the core looking to inspire curiosity and ultimately give people agency over what they're consuming through awareness around what's in it. So yeah, I think, the tip of the arrow can be potentially sharp and short, but really it's getting somebody to that next step. And that next step is about education and really making it more broadly appealing. So if you think about an arrow, you got the sharp tip and you got kind of that round middle. And that's really where the storytelling comes in. And that's really where we've done a lot of works, especially over the last couple of years, and just expanding our why into truly what it is. Because I think a lot of people see those stickers and they maybe assume that we're just anti whatever, but really the story is much more nuanced. And the status quo is a pretty hard thing to shift. So to your question, I think one of the biggest challenges is changing the status quo. But I think in order to do that, you have to zig where other people are zagging, and you have to have a really sharp message that just gets people interested. At the surface, you don't have to get people to like your product. It's just what you don't want is indifference. And so you're getting people to that next step. And then from there, you use a combination of, social proof, credibility, and, storytelling that is broadly appealing and that, walks somebody through the problem, maybe the discomfort or the irritation, and then the potential solutions. And for a product like ours, the solution might not be quitting coffee. It might be swapping out your afternoon cup. It might just be drinking less, and ultimately our big why of creating healthy minds through healthy habits. If somebody is feeling better because their relationship to how they find energy is better, that's a win. Obviously, from a business perspective, it'd be great if that transition happened through some of our products, but that's really what we're here to do and what we're here to put out in the world.
Yeah, and one other thing I'll mention too. Sorry, Wade.
No, you're good.
Is I could never drink coffee. I'm too sensitive to it. Like when I have it, it feels good in the moment. You're like, oh wow, my heart rate's going up, and I have this burst of energy. But the crash, the headache, it's brutal. A lot of people don't mind that, or they don't experience that. But I definitely know that, I'm not everyone. A lot of people are like me that are sensitive to caffeine in general.
Yeah.
But the big thing that I'm noticing with your branding, you just said it so succinctly, is the mid-afternoon and even like kind of going into the night, right? Which is your rooibos, that line.
Yeah.
And so like, 2-3 o'clock, if someone has coffee, even if they love coffee, they don't have any major negative effect from coffee. You're having it so late in the day that it's going to wire you as you're going into the evening to wind down and calm down and go home to your family and just have a relaxing time. But sometimes people need that mid-afternoon boost. So I think like that's where I also use Mudwater, is if I miss it in the morning, I'm have it in the afternoon and I can still sleep. So I think that's like a really key area that I've really used Mudwater.
Yeah, and we've made more and more ads that are targeting that consumer as well. I think the interesting thing about pretty much anything, sugar, drugs, caffeine, is that it affects everyone differently. And specifically with caffeine, there's a gene called the CYP1A2 gene. And depending on your, your genetic makeup, you could be a fast or slow metabolizer of caffeine. And around 50-60% of the population are actually slow metabolizers of it. So if you did a 23andMe test, it'll actually let you know if you're a fast or slow metabolizer of caffeine. And I think, just from my experience, I am very sensitive to caffeine, but for a couple of years, I was drinking a ton of it, and I kind of lost track of what it felt like to feel normal. And so you only know your relationship to something when you lose it, and then you can see how it impacts you. And having not drank tons of caffeine for a long time now, for 7 years, when I do, even if I have a matcha, I can really feel it. And especially if I have something later in the evening, caffeine has a 6-hour half-life, and so it stays in your system. And a lot of science is out on the effects of caffeine. Like when you're first consuming it as a new user of caffeine, you really do feel the effects of it. Over time, you're actually just offsetting the withdrawals every morning. You're actually not getting, like, it creates a false sense of alertness, but not true energy. And yeah, I felt when I was consuming it, it just sort of compounds over time, and then that fight or flight turns into kind of stress, anxiety. And yeah, if you're driving across the country in the middle of the night, maybe you need that. But for doing creative work, for podcasting, for most things, it's kind of like I say it's trying to light a candle with a flamethrower. It's you're overdoing it and you'll burn out.
Exactly.
That's good. So I've got a question. I want to kind of pivot and ask you something different. But before I do that, I want to touch on Dima's question here in the audience, which says it can replace daily coffee, but it doesn't taste like your morning cup of coffee. Do you have any plans on how to innovate or improve taste? And I know tastes are different. So how would you respond to that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right now we do have 4 different flavors, 3 that are probably more for like a daytime usage. And so for the first 5 years of the company, it was just built around that one original blend, which is a blend of cacao, masala chai, the mushrooms, the turmeric. And so it's a unique flavor profile. It's literally what I was consuming for a couple of years. And I polished the recipe with one of our 2 food scientists on our team. And yeah, it tastes like it works. It masks the mushroom taste, which I think is unique. Mushrooms are earthy, and there's mushroom coffees out there. Coffee is pretty acidic, and just the combination, I haven't really tried them, but what I've heard is it's not the best. With our product, you don't taste any of the mushrooms. But that said, our blend is like it's made like a black cup of coffee, and that you probably, if you drink your coffee with milk or sweetener, you'd want to drink our product with milk or sweetener. And depending on the different fats or creamers or sweeteners, it changes the whole composition of the spice profile, which is really interesting. So it's very modifiable. And then looking out to the future, we're actually right now developing, just going into retail. There's less customer nurturing. We have our own creamer, we have our own sweetener, amazing upsells in our post-purchase journey for e-commerce. But in the offline environment, you can't sell creamer and sweetener in the coffee aisle, really, and maybe in the future. And so we are working on developing some products that go at that.
Excellent, excellent. So what I wanted to pivot to is putting my HR/company hat on here for a second. One of the things that I admire most about you and your company, Shane, and I've been watching on the sidelines, and I do like the product too. But one of the things I most admire is you hear one of the buzzwords or the words you use so many times to describe environments and companies is the culture and how positive it is and things like that. And I want you to share with the listeners a little bit about that as far as what you're doing, throwing culture out the window, just your overall vibe and what you're doing with your employees, and the benefits and all that kind of stuff that's going on at Mudwater.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of the business has been built from this perspective of, what is the product that I want to see in the world? Like, what is the brand? What is the aesthetic? What is the voice I want to see in the world? And then I wanted to build a company culture that I wanted to work within as well. I wanted to build a company that I wanted to work for. And so I really took kind of a design approach to building the company culture, and also took a lot of inspiration from elite athletes and professional sports teams. I think, when you think about a professional sports team, everyone on that team is, required to perform at the highest level. And of course, there's the playoffs, there's game nights. It's a lot of effort. But then you do rest, recover, review the film tape. You get, functional health doctors, mental coaches, the cold plunge, all of these things, because it's a part of the game. It's a part of performing at the highest level. And so from the beginning, I tried to instill some of that into our culture, not from the traditional work-life balance perspective, but more because I think it directly and indirectly impacts, high performance. It creates a high performing environment. And I think, especially for a startup, it's not very commonplace, because on the surface it looks expensive. So when a new employee joins, we give them an Aura ring. We give them access to a functional health doctor that, reviews their blood work. This is all optional, but most of our employees do take us up on it. But functional health doctor that can review their blood panel work, give them, some suggestions to optimize their physical health. And then you get access to a coach, so like a therapist who can help you optimize your mental health. We also have every other Friday off. We did have unlimited time off policy. We found that to be sort of superficial, and instilled a minimum time off policy. So it's 41 days off per year, every other Friday off. And, these things, especially for a business owner founder, can be like, this is a lot, this is expensive. And the way I think about it, it's similar to looking at a healthy diet. So on the surface, on the face value, you're like, buying healthy food is more expensive than buying unhealthy food. But then when you look at the long-term costs, right, the costs of, the going to the doctor, going to the hospital, not performing at your best, like really what is most cost effective? And I think the same thing goes for the team. So building a culture and investing on the front end in a lot of these things, it is cost effective, because you have better, employee retention. Replacing an employee is one of the most expensive time, resources, emotionally. It's a very costly thing. So when you factor in all these costs of performance at the highest level, employee retention, investing on the front end actually makes a lot of sense.
I was going to say, I know you don't have a lot of people in your company, but I've got to think your turnover is next to zero. With what you're doing there, it's got to be.
It's cool. We've had a couple employees, those that have left, I think 8, there's been like maybe 4, and 75% of them are, they left to start their own business, which is, and we cheer them on along the way. And so that's an amazing thing, because that was my story. I was working for Lauren Schulte, and I let her know I was starting my own thing, and she encouraged me along the way and supported me, and just cheering me on to this day. And so I try to do the same.
I mean, it just boils down to really the golden rule, right? I mean, you said it yourself, that treat others the way you want to be treated. So the culture, what you're creating is what you would want to, what you would want for yourself. So I can't give you enough kudos for that. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I mean, in listening to the entire story, there's a reason why you're growing beyond just the product itself. It's also the team, how heartfelt you are, how you're taking care of all your team members so well, and it's so authentic. We can feel it as you're talking right here on this podcast, and it makes people want to, support you more by going out and buying your product. And so again, you just launched in Target. I want to really just touch on this one more time, and then I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're in Target. You're in all 1,800 stores. Is that correct? Or are you doing a test launch?
Yeah, we're starting out in a quarter of them right now, scaling to half of them in 4 months. And as of right now, we're exceeding our expectations by 2x. So it's going good. It is a new category for them. So, it's interesting. Our product, it's not coffee, it's not tea, it's kind of in between. And so, we're here with brands, a brand like Clever Blends, who I love and respect, who's also in our space. Together, we're kind of building this category out. and looking to translate that from Target and to beyond.
Yeah. The only other thing that I was thinking of just during probably half of this episode while you were talking is, it's expensive to have a beverage. It's heavy. The shipping is more expensive. But is there something in the future, and you don't have to show the cards, where there could be a beverage where it's already pre-made?
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. It's a great answer. Okay. Yeah. Because the people on the go and they can't mix it and all that. So
trial and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. And it pushes them to buy the powder right at home when they're out and about and trying it at a store.
Mhm.
So good stuff. Well, congrats on, we're out of time, but congrats on all your success. Wade and I, we use this product all the time, and again, it's good that, you put in a sweetener, you put in something else. Again, to me, I could have it straight because I have that palate, but a lot of people, if you add just a little oat milk and like a dab of honey, it tastes amazing. And then you also told us, for anyone that's in LA that wants to go to your, and what did you call it? It's
called Mudwater Gather.
Mudwater Gather, that you have baristas
that
are custom making drinks, like the one you're holding, that taste excellent, like a treat, that has mud water in it. So I got to try it. I got to go buy. So Wade, I got you there, unless you want to take a plane from,
I was going to, don't tempt me. But my go-to was always the
Rising Tide.
And Rising Tide is the creamer. Yep. And which is a coconut creamer. And Alex, you know it better than I do, because I think I hooked you on it. But those two, and I would use just a dab, just a touch of Manuka honey. And that's my go-to. So yeah.
Awesome. If anybody's coming by the cafe, there's a secret menu item that some of the employees that work out of here have created. So order this. It's called the Bottom Dweller.
The Bottom Dweller.
And what it is, it's the OG rise cacao that you guys are referring to, with steamed cashew milk, a little bit of cayenne, some honey, and then a scoop of almond butter that just kind of finds its way to the bottom.
Nice.
And it's amazing. That's actually what I'm drinking right now.
So delicious. Okay. Well, I'm sold. I'm coming by like tomorrow. I'm going to find a way to get, and I convince my whole family to go up there to the west side and get this drink.
I'd love that. Yeah. So I'm here every day too. So come by.
You are?
Come by. Come say hi.
No way.
Yeah. This is where it's our office as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, I'll see you in person for sure. IRL. So, we're going to go to our next segment. We have a segment here. And again, we didn't prep you for any of this, Shane, because we don't prep any of our guests for anything. It's no script, just chat. We're extremely disorganized here. But we're going to talk about, I love it too. So we're going to talk about just stuff that we love, products that are in our pantry, in our fridges, that we're having every day, every other day. So let's get that going. And then we also have a prize that Shane is graciously going to be giving one lucky winner, which is the starter kit. It's a morning ritual kit, which has a 30-day supply of mud water and also a frother, a custom-made branded frother that comes with it. So you'll get that for free, granted that you win the prize. So people are going to be fighting over that one. So stuff we love. Let's go into that, and then we'll go to our prize. So make sure to stick around.
I'm going to do this quick, Alex, so I'm going to do a twofer here, because you had me. I was expecting that we were going to have to do try anything, and I've shown these before, but as you'll see, this is sealed. I have not tried this flavor. So I love Mark Samuel and I love I Want Organics, but this is the barbecue flavor of his protein crisps that I have not tried yet. So I'm going to go ahead and try them while you tell about what you got in your hands.
Okay, great. So I'll let you handle the try anything. So obviously, I go on this one. I go for the big boy, and I'm on text with you guys.
Advanced.
So
yeah, that black belt level.
Yeah, totally, man. Hiya. So I'm on a text where when people reach out to me, or when Mudwater reaches out to me, they're like, "Are you good, or do you need more?" And I'm like, "I need more. I ran out early." So Wade, I'm gonna go back to you.
It's awesome. It's awesome. The best thing. It's the best thing Mark's put out is the protein crisp, and I've had the sour cream and onion ones. I was waiting for the barbecue. Fantastic, just delicious.
I love Mark's post on LinkedIn too.
Yeah, he's
valuable.
He's great guy.
Yep. 100%. And then for those that didn't see the answer to how many milligrams of mushrooms per serving, it's 2,250 milligrams of mushrooms per serving of mud water. Someone asked that earlier in the chat, so I want to make sure we cover that. I ran into this brand. I don't know if you guys know this. It's called the Only Bean. Have you guys seen this? Mm-hmm. It's an edamame bean. And I met the two founders. They were at the entrance of Hall E, just flinging these things out like it's t-shirts at a basketball game or something. And it's an edamame bean that's high protein super snack. They have ranch, wasabi, they have sriracha, and then their original. These are fantastic. And then one other one that I want to shout out, just in the spirit of, alternate to just coffee, is the matcha green tea pop and bottle. I really like this one as well. So, and then again, this is at Post Expo West, so we have he's got
like he keeps pulling stuff out of his hat over here.
I know. I'm like David Copperfield over here. So the undercover snacks, these are fucking amazing. I love these as well. These are little chocolate quinoa crisps. They have many flavors. They were at Expo West. This is the dark chocolate and sea salt. All right. So that is, and then Shane, anything that you want to mention, stuff that you love that you're consuming at home?
For sure. So I mean, I have a pretty simple diet. I eat a lot of chicken, meat, things like that, but love Chomps. I think that's one of my favorite brands out there. They're doing amazing. I love Good Culture. Good Culture is an incredible product. If I'm looking if I have a sweet tooth, I go for Sweet Lauren's. They're gluten-free. I mean, they have a variety of cookies. And talking about innovation, they had some pretty cool innovation at the show. I don't know if you guys saw their booth, but they're getting into more like baked goods. So they had pizza crust and a couple other things I thought was awesome. And then I've been really getting into raw milk and kefir. So there's a company called Organic Pastures.
Yep.
And they make some incredible raw milks and kefirs that I pretty much consume daily.
Love it. Yeah, Sweet Lauren's is an amazing company. I love Lauren Brill. Great entrepreneur. And we did pick up the little cookie bites that she had at the show.
I was like, get me out of here. They were passing out whole cookies over there. I was just like,
it's dangerous. It's good. It's good, but it's addictive. It's addictive. So, all right. So that is stuff we love. Now we're going to go to our next segment here before we get Shane out of here. And this is called Friday Freebies.
Friday Freebies.
So as mentioned, Mudwater is the sponsor for the show as well as being our guest. And so we're going to be, Mudwater will be giving away a starter kit for Morning Ritual, which is the Rise, which is this one. It's going to be in the canister, right? Not the big bag.
Yeah.
That's the starter kit. And which is on their website, mudwater.com, mudwtr.com, which we'll type in there again. A frother and a 30-day supply of Mudwater, of their Rise Original Blend. So Shane, again, with no preparation at all, just off the cuff, we usually ask a question, something that you mentioned in the course of this episode, personal fact, something about your business, a location, anything, but something hard to guess that you mentioned that someone needs to guess to win the prize. Okay. If you have one, you can say it. If you don't, I have a backup for you.
What did I study in college? I think I mentioned that.
Right on.
My question was similar to that one, but it was what company did you work at? But we're not gonna. That's another one. But so what did Shane study in college to win the starter kit Morning Ritual from Mudwater? And usually there's a delay, and then they all just come flooding in. So I see design, graphics design, arts and design. Which one nailed it to you, Shane? Did no one guess it? Did no one guess it yet?
No, the arts and design is probably, because I did study both. Probably the most accurate.
No better winner than Stephanie Huey. She is an enthusiast of your brand. She's up in San Francisco. She works at Whole Foods, Potrero Hill, and she will be making quick use of your product immediately. So she probably already has it in her cupboard. Okay, so that is it. Just to mention also one more time, our sponsors. We have V Driven, right? You can email luke.abbott@vdriven.com. And then also just our show next week. Make sure to tune in. It's Friday at 2:30. And we're going to have, it's actually a really special episode. We're going to have, it's called the Master Series, and it's going to have John Foraker from Once Upon a Farm, and also from Annie's, Chris Hunter, founder of Koya, co-founder, I should say, Rachel Robb, Critical Mass Group, and also Nick Mendel of Amberstone Ventures. So that's going to be our Master Series for next week. Shane, goes without saying, man, but you're the man. Love your product. Thank you so much for being here, taking the time, and I'll see you at your cafe very, very soon, I'm sure.
I look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for having me on. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. And Wade, love you, buddy. And everyone, take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Okay. Love you, buddy.